Hi, this is John Allen, the editor of Crux. Welcome to another exclusive video feature on the Crux site. I am coming to you today from Denver, Colorado, the headquarters, the sede apostolica, you might say, of the sprawling Crux Catholic media empire. This video feature is brought to you by the good people at the Augustinians of the Assumption, better known as the Assumptionist Fathers. And we are privileged today to have with us a member of the Assumptionists, Father John Franck. Father John, how are you today?
I'm very good on this day before Thanksgiving, John, and it's good to see you with your broad smile this morning.
Well, I'm glad you have your priorities straight. Many people would say this day 2 days before Black Friday, but you're heroically resisting consumer culture, Father, and I'm glad to hear it. Where are you today?
I'm at our university in Worcester, Massachusetts, where I am on sabbatical, having just served on the leadership team, international leadership team of the Assumptionists in Rome.
All right. Now, we have a lot to talk about vis-a-vis the Assumption charism and places around the world where the Assumptionists are active. But as a fellow old Rome hand, I'm going to start with this. What's your favorite restaurant in Rome, Father?
Let's see. There are many of those restaurants, but I like Gusto Sando.
Ah, yeah, very nice. I'm a Taverna Giulia guy myself, but that's a good place. You know, the late Cardinal Anthony Bevilacqua used to say that 75% of the restaurants in Rome are really good and the rest are spectacular. His point being it's hard to have a bad meal in the Eternal City. Looking forward to getting over there once again next week. All right, so Father, tell us to begin about the charism of the Assumptionist Fathers and why you would see it as relevant in the world of today.
Well, what I would say, John, is to explain a little bit the difference between us and the Grand Augustinians, the OSAs, why we are AA, Augustinians of the Assumption. We were founded at the beginning of the 19th century. Our founder, Emmanuel Delzon, lived in southern France in the wake of the devastation of the French Revolution, especially the results of the Reign of Terror and the effects that it had on French society and European society. So as he was thinking about the future of the world after the French Revolution, he decided to found an order that would be Augustinian, because he saw a parallel between what was happening in Europe after the French Revolution and what Augustine was living through. He saw a society that was in ruins, is certainly in terms of what was happening in the church. And therefore, he wanted to found an order that would, in his eyes, put into practice the new city of God in the modern world. And as he looked at the modern world, he identified what he considered to be three, the French say three ills. And those ills that he identified were unbelief, indifference, and ignorance. And so he founded an order that, first of all, would be, as he said, would penetrate the world with a Christian idea. That was his first idea, by men who would be consumed, absorbed by this idea completely, given over completely to this idea, and in words the world could understand. Those were kind of like the three pillars of his vision. And so he founded a teaching order, an educational order, basically, that spread out. But he wanted us to address these basic ills of the modern world that he thought were triggered by the French Revolution, as symbolic of what was happening in a modern society. So he founded us for, in terms of an apostolic ideal, to address these three ills. And from a community point of view, he liked Augustine as well, because Augustine saw his monastic community as a little cell of the body of Christ living within the city, but being a leaven for the larger body of Christ. So our community life is meant to be a apostolic in a way, as much as our direct apostolate in teaching, preaching, etc. So this is why he called us Augustinians of the Assumption, to distinguish us. He founded the school, the Assumptionists, at a high school, a kind of a prep school in southern France. So it was called Assumption High School. I hope that helps a little bit to get across what the charism is about.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, those are obviously very inspiring ideals. But I think the important thing to stress is that in addition to being inspiring our ideals, they are not just words on paper. They are lived out by Assumptionists all over the world. Talk to us, for instance, about the example of the three Assumptionists who were kidnapped in the Democratic Republic of Congo 5 years ago and who still remain, their whereabouts unknown. Another Assumptionist in the Congo, Father Vincent Makosi, was actually shot to death in Congo for his involvement in peace and justice issues. So these are examples, are they not, Father, of Assumptionists who are taking those high ideals and making them real in the world of today?
Yeah, unfortunately, we have some examples of Assumptionists who have given their lives in terms of transforming society and trying to educate the world to what the Christian idea is that Delzon wanted to penetrate the world with. One of the areas of apostolic concern that he mentioned to us were the missions. And so in 1929, we arrived in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, set up schools, missions. We were at one point the only missionary congregation in the eastern part of the Congo for many, many years. And as a result, we were able to establish a presence there that was recognized by the people as one of solidarity with them and one they could trust. And when the civil conflict broke out in the Congo, as you may know, in 1997, as a result of the rebellion that was led by Joseph Kabila, our men were targeted because of their influence in society. We run, and we continue to run, radio stations, dispensaries, schools, parishes, social centers throughout the Eastern Congo. And when the civil conflict disintegrated into a question of armed factions that spread throughout the country. You may know that it is estimated that there are 15 separate armed factions in the Congo at this point who are vying for authority in a vacuum, basically, because there is no real central authority in the Congo at this point. So that these conflicting factions have created an intolerable situation in which the local population is being persecuted for reasons that we're not even sure. It's very complicated. And our men have decided to remain present with the people, to be one with them, because we are so trusted as both giving them solace and giving them the only support that they can trust at this point. As a result, 3 of our men 5 years ago were kidnapped. We're not sure by whom. We have a sense that it was by one of these armed factions. They have unfortunately not returned. We have no idea what happened to them. We suspect the worst. And recently, one of our priests, Father Vincent Machosi, who was the voice of peace and justice in the area and who would identify any particular faction, including the government that was persecuting or oppressing the population vocally through a website. He was targeted many times, but He was finally assassinated, probably by the government, while he was visiting his aging mother a couple years ago. But very sad. But our men have decided that they will stay in the midst of this persecuted people that are their own, in order to bring them the solace of the gospel and some kind of human support.
Well, that's obviously an especially dramatic and heroic example of living out this charism that you've described. We don't have much time left, Father, but in the very brief time we have, why don't you give us a quick overview of the kinds of ministries the Assumptionists are engaged in here in the States?
Well, the Assumptionists involved in the States here, we have a university here in Worcester that is a major preoccupation of ours, and in which we invest quite a bit in terms of personnel and resources. But the other is that some 20 years ago, our probably largest apostolic effort in the world is one of the premier Catholic publishing agencies, companies worldwide, known as Bayard Press, which is in France the single largest Catholic press, and is in the French-speaking world the largest Catholic press. And it has spread to the United States, where they have joined or they have purchased 23rd publications, Catholic Digest, Living with Christ, any creative communications, any number of social communications whereby hopefully we can penetrate the world with a Christian idea. So our idea here in the United States, Canada, is to use the power and the experience of Bayard Press to reach the broad Catholic population, and eventually, hopefully, use the United States and Canada as a springboard into the Spanish-speaking world as well. Since they understand that there are so many Spanish-speaking in the United States, they'd like to use this as a springboard to bring our message, the message that Father Delzon entrusted to us, to a broader world. And we're constantly trying to do that in that challenging way that he said is in words the world will understand.
All right. Well, listen, if your colleagues at Bayard are looking for another potential partner that's doing creative and remarkable things in the world of Catholic media, have them give me a call about a potential relationship with Crux, will you, Father?
I will do that, John. Absolutely. They're always looking for new opportunities.
All right. Well, good. Listen, if you want to know more about the Augustinians of the Assumption, if you may feel the tug, possibly, of a vocation to the Assumptionists, go online to Assumptionist/vocations. There you will find first-person narratives. You will find information about the order. You'll get a sense of what they're up to around the world today. It is a fascinating, and as you've heard Father John say, an often heroically dedicated group of religious, and so well worth a look. Father John, thank you so much for being with us here today. We hope as we continue to track the vicissitudes of your order around the world, you'll come back and join us.
Thank you very much, John. Enjoy your trip to Rome, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. You have been watching this exclusive video feature on the Crux YouTube page. Keep checking our YouTube page, because we will quite often bring you these conversations with interesting people, newsmakers, movers and shakers in various parts of the world. But until we see one another again, I am John Allen, the editor of Crux, and you have a great day.